I'm the one of the judge member of the film festival, and my name is Sang-Hoon Lee. And also, I'm a professor of independent film and digital imaging at Governor State University, where this festival happens. So I'm happy to see you all. That's awesome. But then also, I'm a little sad because if it was normal, we would have enjoyed and celebrated your film after screening with the audience. And then we have a great screening facility and you have great food trucks, but none of them happened this year. But I'm sure you understand, and I'm sure you've done this kind of virtual Q&A before with your film, because I'm sure you guys' films are great. So I cannot imagine this is only one film festival. So, but this is my first virtual Q&A. So I've done a lot of Zoom meeting as you do at home for work and for friends, but this is my first virtual Q&A. So I'm excited and I'm nervous, and I'm just happy to just talk with you guys about your film and your art and your life and everything. So we will just get started. I hope one more director join us in the middle of our Q&A, but why don't we just start from kind of a brief introduction of yourself, and then what film or were you in with this film festival, and then brief introduction about this film. Because the reason I'm asking you the brief introduction to your film is that usually Q&A, we watch the film together, and then other filmmakers, they watch each other's film and then they ask each other. But for this case, I'm sure none of you watched other filmmakers' film here. So if you introduce just a little bit about your film, that would help for us to discuss about your film. So why don't we go from the, I just go by the screen that I have. So if you guys don't mind, can I just call you guys by first name?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Great. So can we start from the, I think, director of Four Seasons, Kurt here. So, and then after that, we can move to Nia. She's the writer and then also star of the film. So if you could introduce yourself and a little bit about your film, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Kurt Williamson. I'm based here in LA and director for Four Seasons. And Four Seasons was a film written by Nia Fairweather, who starred in it as well. And we've been friends for a long, long time. We lived in New York at the same time. And we came together to come up with a film about relationships. And this particular relationship, we segmented it into like 4 seasons. So each season was like a season of their relationship, and later on marriage and parenthood. And so it goes through some happy times and some anticipation between the couple, into some tumultuous times, and deals with things as far as like postpartum and different. I'll let Nia speak more on that. So that's pretty much what this film is about, kind of wrapped up into a short.
Great, thanks so much for intro of yourself and about the film. And Nia, before we go to other projects, could you just tell us a little bit more about like being a writer and star of this film?
Sure, yeah. So hi everyone, I'm Nia Fairweather. I am the writer and producer and lead actress in Four Seasons. And as Kurt said, we have been friends for many years. And we've gone through our own seasons, but always have been really supportive of each other in our own changes. And being the writer and the actor in the project and the producer, I think the producer adds a different element to the experience, because while I was, yes, having to be in the scenes and perform, I also was in charge of making sure we stay on schedule, making sure lunch, all the different things, safety, making sure all those things. So literally in between cuts, I'm like, all right, lunch, who has the coffee? Who has this, you know? So it is wearing many hats, but I think when it comes to independent film, and when you have great partners like I have in Kurt and our entire team on the film, we all really work together as a family, you know, on this project and getting it told. So we, wearing the many hats, which many of us did, because Kurt also serves as our producer, really because we all came together because we believed in the story, we wanted to create something together. it worked really well. So even though I had to wear all those hats, it was really, I felt really supported. And yeah, and it's like keeping track of it. And even though I wrote it, you know, when you bring in your other actors, like, you know, David, who actually plays Braxton, and then the other actors, Jay, Ivy, and Kara, it's like they bring a whole different element to it. So even though I wrote it, and once they came into it and brought life to it, it's like, oh, okay. And then we're just ping-ponging, you know, and playing off of each other in the scene. So truly, I mean, Four Seasons, when we wrote it, in writing it and the elements, it's really about love, friendship, and the tides of change. And with this couple, we get to see the evolution of their relationship and how each marker in that affects how they relate to each other and themselves. And as Kurt said, we do touch a lot of things in a short, and I think that's the beauty of shorts sometimes, is to seeing how much life you can pack into a short period of time and it still be satisfying. And all around, it was a great experience. And we have an extraordinary crew as well. Chris, who serves as our cinematographer, is also a good friend of ours for many years. And so this truly was a team effort, and really happy with how it all turned out.
It sounds like a very happy production. So I'm gonna ask you if there's any like a sour moment. So no, I'm kidding. So thank you for the introduction, and then we'll go back to that experience as a filmmaker with the many hats. I'm curious to hear about that, because you know, myself as an independent filmmaker, so wearing different hats is, you know, always happening. It's not even new. So it's always like a juggling, you know, how to balance those work. But I'm still curious to hear more about that. So for now, let's move to next filmmaker, Chelsea's.
Yes.
Ephemera. Yeah, that was a new word for me. I just try to find out how to pronounce correctly.
Ephemera.
Ephemera, right?
Yeah.
Would you tell us about yourself and your film a little bit, please?
Yes. So my name is Chelseas Venkatath, and I am the writer, director, and one of the producers for Ephemera. So short film, roughly about 20 minutes. It's an adult drama. We filmed in Chicago, and that's where we're all from. And yeah, it was it was a long process. And let's see where to start. Adult drama, and it's about a married couple. They're going through some tough times. They have a daughter, and it explores a bit of polygamy, and in other words, like swingers. But what we did is we took an approach where in the past, when I've seen films about swingers, it's been maybe too sleazy, or a lot of language or drug use, alcohol abuse, where we took an approach and gave it like a very realistic feel to the couple and what they go through psychologically, knowing when their partners are going to be with someone else and what that does. And it's them exploring polygamy because their relationship's not working out, marriage counseling isn't working out, and they're just kind of venturing out. So, you know, it was just a very kind of creative, fun way of making a film. And this was my first film. So
It's your first film?
This was my
Wow.
first film, yeah. But I had a great team. It cost us roughly about $50,000 to make this. We were able to raise about 25,000, and then my wife and myself, we invested about the other half into the film.
Yeah.
So totally feel you know, like the rest of the teammates in here, how it feels to wear multiple hats. And like Nia was saying, you know, when you're saying action, cut, and then you're like, all right, is it lunchtime, you know, who's knocking on the door, who's complaining, like, did we go over? So quite a stressful situation, but overall, by the end of it, we were very pleased and happy, and happy to be here, and happy that festivals are figuring out a way to keep doing this during this crazy times.
Yeah.
So
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So we will go back to that you experience as a first-time director. I cannot believe that really polished film is directed by first-time
Thank
director.
you.
So
I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I hate you.
It took us 7 years just to kind of
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
yeah, I mean, the writing started 7 years ago. We didn't film until about 3 years ago. We really took our time putting it together. Post-production, I mean, really, I just took my time. There's no studio behind us, like breathing down our backs. So you know, if it makes you feel better.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, now we are moving on to the next film by called Control, and we have two gentlemen here. So, would you tell us your name and your role in the film, and then tell us a little bit about your film for those who haven't watched your film? And by the way, thanks for joining this from Iran. Are you guys in Iran now? What time is it there?
It's 6 o'clock after.
In the morning?
Afternoon.
Oh, okay,
Evening.
that's better. Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, sorry for our broken English. I helped Mohsen to write the transcription, and I just helped him. And now I'm here to help him to talk. And it's kind of a complicated situation, but thank you for your patience. Now I want Mohsen to start to talk, then I would try to translate it. Sorry. Start.
سلام، امیدوارم حالتون خوب باشه.
Hi, I wish you be healthy.
من محسن حبیبی هستم، کارگردان فیلم کنترل.
I'm Mohsen Habibi, the director of the Control movie.
And نمیدونم باید راجع به چی صحبت بکنم و اگر مثلا چیزی هست، نکته خاصی هست که من راجبش بگم.
در مورد اینتروداکشن
در مورد
اینتروداکشن
خودم؟
نه، در مورد فیلم. چی شد شروع کردی داستان؟
خب من کنترل رو تقریبا بر اساس در حقیقت تجربیاتی که خودم توی یک کلینیک حوزه که در حقیقت کارش توی حوزه روانشناختی بود ساختم.
The idea of the Control movie was based on my own experience when I worked in a clinic, a psychological clinic.
و اونجا من با بچه‌های معمولاً زیر 10 سال در ارتباط بودم. اون کلینیک در حقیقت کارش این بود که ارتقا بده عملکرد کودکان زیر 10 سال رو در مناسبات اجتماعی و رفتارها و چیزهای این چنینی.
That clinic focus was on kids below 10 years old, and it focused on enhance their behavior and their psychological health.
و خب اون دوره‌ای که من با بچه‌ها مشغول کار بودم رفتارهایی رو از اونها می‌دیدم که برای من خیلی جالب توجه بود.
Their behavior, that kids' behavior was so strange to me.
و خب اون چیزهایی که من از این بچه‌ها می‌دیدم به صورت ذره ذره تبدیل به سری ایده هایی شد برای در حقیقت ساخت کنترل.
What I watched, what I scrutinized, inspired me to make the control. In fact, I watched them, scrutinized them, and what I saw inspired me to write the transcription.
و در حقیقت کنترل یه جورایی نمایش میده در حقیقت روابط دو تا پسر بچه دبستانی رو، مدرسه‌ای رو که در همون دنیای کودکانه خودشون تلاش دارن. در حقیقت دو تا بچه‌ای هستن که طرد شدن از فضای دوستانه و فضای مدرسه، اما در پس این آشنایی تلاش میکنن که بتونن یکدیگر رو انگار تسخیر بکنن یا بتونن همدیگر رو کنترل بکنن.
Control depict the relationship between two kids who try to get the control of each other and overcome each other's desire. It was what I tried to portray.
آره خلاصه اینکه آره این چیزی که ما بین روابط این دو تا بچه می‌بینیم رو حتی به یک معنا در روابط در حقیقت اتفاقی که بین پدر مادر یکی از کاراکترهای فیلم و فشاری که اون داره بر بچهش وارد میکنه و فشاری که باز بچه اون بر دوستش داره وارد میکنه رو ما می‌بینیم.
And at last I want to say that in fact those kids imitate their parents' behavior, how they wanted to control each other, overcome each other, and those kids simply imitate adulthood world.
Great, thanks so much, and thanks for translating it. Yeah, that was actually really one of beautiful films, and I wish like we all watched the film together. But I'm sure you guys will have the filmmaker pass through the festival, and that'd be great. Watch this film together, and then maybe I need to still talk to the festival committee, and it would be great to have one more kind of a closing meeting with our filmmakers or together, so we can talk and also ask some questions to other filmmakers after we watch the film. I think that would be really great. So, hey, Jake, ask Josh and Suzanne about this, please. They are the two co-founders of this film festival. So, yes, and then thank you for your brief intro of your film and yourself. That's great. So let me just, since this is a Q&A, I have some few questions to you guys. First, let's go back to the fourth season. And I think the writing and directing and acting especially is really was strong, and then that as a partner and father with young children, and then just it is so real, and then it makes me kind of a cringe because it's so real, because it just looks like, oh my God, I know exactly how they feel. So is that from the one of you guys experience, or from like a pure imagination?
Yeah, it's from both of our experiences. Neither one of us have kids yet, but we have friends that do, and so it's loosely based on our experience and our friends' experiences, and we just told stories back and forth until we kind of came up with a scenario for this couple, and from friends' influences and what they say, hanging around with the guys, and some guys want to be players and this and that, like to some people just asking, what is love about, so I think that was fun to kind of bring that whole experience. And that's one thing I do cherish about aging and getting older, is like just knowing more about people's experiences. And I think between Nia and I, we just came with a whole slew of different experiences. Oh, and I wanted to add one thing. It's just such an honor to be in this festival, because I was born and raised in Chicago. I'm from the South Side, and this is one of the first films. Like, this is like the second short film I've ever worked on. I've always worked in television, and to be honored and be a part of this festival is like a huge thing. I know Governor State, I know where it is. I live in South Holland, so yeah.
Oh, that's great. It would have been so nice to have you back here, but I'll make another film for next year, right? And then
We'll do that. We got
Chicago.
something else.
That's great. Yeah, this is a second film, so I'm sure you guys are like extremely talented group of filmmakers. I'm sure, so you would just keep creating these wonderful stories. And then my next question naturally goes to Nia. I have two questions. First one is that Kurt and you seems like work very closely together. So how was like a writing process? Was it you finished the script and then as we normally do, okay, this is my script director, or you guys kind of collaborated script? Obviously, you're the main writer. So if it was like a kind of a collaboration process, I was wondering how it has been.
Sure. Yeah. So it really. So I did all of the writing. However, it was really our conversations, as Kurt said. We really came together being like, okay, we want to film, we want to shoot something. They were like, well, what do we want to shoot? So it really all came together organically. It wasn't like I had 4 seasons and brought it to him, or he was like, I have this idea and brought it to me. It was us wanting to work together. We worked together on one other short that I had written, and he served as my DP, but we had been friends. So it was like, okay, he wanted to direct something narrative, I wanted to write, and I just wanted to create, you know? So the process was really organic. So what happened was we kind of had conversations, we talked about different ideas. I would go away, kind of like make sense of it all, put it together. The fun thing about it for me was also writing very clear voices for the male characters, you know, the friends, that scene at the beginning, as well as for Braxton. So a lot of the joy for me was writing the male voices based on some of the things we talked about, some of our friends, just keeping them in mind, like how would they say things, how would they behave. So the fun was that I would bring it, I'll share with Kurt, and he'd be like, yeah, that seems right on point. And then for a couple moments, he was like, okay, maybe a little bit tweak this. And I'm like, okay. So I know I was able to have a really great sense of when things were falling in line. And for me, I felt it was really important that both the female voice and the male voice in the project is very solid, and that they have their own sense of self, their own beingness, and really full-bodied individuals. And so with Kurt, it was great to have kind of like that male voice and male lens, just to make sure that what I was writing and feeling and what I thought would be accurate, having someone real time to say, yeah, that's on point. Oh, you know, and it's so funny because we have friends who are like, yo, is that me? And I'm like, it's not you at all. But that to me is like the best compliment,
right.
When people that we know think it's them. And I'm like, bro, like this is a composite of different things. And or people are like, is that your story? And I'm like, no, it's not mine. And the same thing for Charisse. I just definitely wanted to also address with both of them, you know, this notion of what motherhood is and what maybe the pressures in society are ideas of what that would feel like, or we should automatically know what to do. And the truth is most people don't know until they're in a situation what it means to be a mother or father, and you're figuring it out. As they say, it's, you know, you learn how to do the job on the job as like a parent. And I think for me, and even when talking to Kurt, I really wanted to showcase that, because I think so often when we have films and stories about relationships, it's like everybody seems to know how to do these things. And in reality, that's not how it goes for a lot of people. And I wanted to show a woman kind of having to struggle and figure that out. And then even Braxton, the male, her husband, her lead opposite her, him trying to figure out what does it mean to be the father, the husband, the provider. And those are conversations that I think don't often happen in a public space, and wanted to use 4 seasons to bring that to the forefront.
I have actually a few more questions, but I will save it for the next round, because I'm gonna go to other filmmakers and we'll come back more about the story. And I wanna ask a question to Chelsea. As you mentioned, this is not an easy subject, right? And still in 2020, polygamy, this is still, we are a strong monogamy society. Right. And I'm not gonna say what I believe, what I don't believe, but it is very, very sensitive subject. So I was wondering, and then I'm wondering more after I heard that this is your first film. So you're kind of why you chose this subject matter. So how important this is. You know, when somebody makes the first film, it is really significant. I'm just coming out to this storytelling world. So I want to hear about, you know, your kind of a director's note kind of a thought? Yes.
Sure. So when we started the project, we knew that we wanted to tell a complicated story, a little bit of like tension, and so we picked the subject matter after a series, and we're like, we want to draw attention to it. We want people to talk about it. There should be a buzz about it. So that's why we picked the subject matter. And then after doing research, we figured out this would be a fun project and complicated to write. And at the time, when I wrote this like 7 years ago, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids, but in the film, it's a married couple. They have a daughter. So I was just writing based off like what my friends were also going through. And then in time, I got married. I had my own kids. And then it just all kind of like, I'm like, oh, okay, so I did something right. There are some scenarios and situations that was in the film that reflect real life. So yeah, for me, it was to make a controversial story. And because I knew it was my first one, and because we knew we were going to spend so much money in it, we really wanted to like raise some eyebrows and get people really thinking like, hey, society has set up a certain set of rules here, but polygamy exists, swingers exist, they're out there. It's a secret like life, and it's somewhat taboo, and it's not just about sex, it's just not about physical things. And according to our evolution process, we were not always that way. We've evolved to become monogamists. So it's just challenging and trying how human nature it is, and trying to fight against it. It's not easy to do, and in this case, it was what that couple's going through psychologically more than it was a sexual thing. But yeah, hopefully I answered that question.
No, yeah, that is great. So I think that kind of leads me to the second question. I will save it, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So yeah, I have a question to Mohsen about the film. I know you get this question a lot. Probably you will hate this question, but I'm gonna have to ask this because I love Iranian cinema, especially the children's cinema. I know you're smiling because you heard that question a lot. So Barbaf and then Kiarostami and Majidi. They have been making beautiful children's cinema, and then it kind of was the catalyst to the for us to get to know the Iranian cinema. So can you tell us about their influence to this film, or it is not? So I hate Iranian children's cinema even as a term. So this is just my thing. Or yes, that's the part of the line of the Iranian cinema. And can you tell us about that?
خب در مورد این فیلم باید بگم که مشخصاً یه کسی مثل عباس کیارستمی و سینمایی که داره مخصوصاً توی برخوردی که با کودکان داره تاثیرگذار بوده.
To be honest, I should say Kiarostami's cinema have a great impact on the control, especially his how kids appear in his cinematography.
و به شکلی که حالا عباس کیارستمی مرحوم حالا برخورد میکرد توی سینما با در حقیقت کودک و از کودکان در حقیقت بازی میگرفت، خب اون معمولاً به دنبال بچه‌هایی نبود که تجربه بازی در سینما رو داشته باشن و سراغ بچه‌هایی میرفت که در حقیقت بی تجربه بودن یا نابازیگر بودن.
Abbas Kiarostami used to avoid working with professional actors
و من هم توی این فیلم خب ترجیحم این بود که دوری کنم از بچه‌هایی که به صورت جدی و حرفه‌ای درگیر بازی کردنن توی سینما، یعنی بازیگرن، دوری می‌کردم از اونها.
And I avoid working with kids who had experience with the media and started working with some unexperienced kids.
و خب این بین من هلوش نزدیک 200 تا بچه رو تست گرفتم توی مدت خیلی طولانی تا اینکه اینا تعدادشون کم شد و کمتر شد تا اینکه رسیدن به این 2 تا بچه‌ای که در توی فیلم بازی میکنن و اینا هیچ تجربه‌ای از بازی کردن مقابل دوربین نداشتن.
We tested 200 kids to find the ideal actors, and finally I chose these kids.
Those 2 kids are perfect casting. Those 2 actors, they're perfect. I'm sure Kiarostami is happy. I know she's not here. I'm still sad. I just checked it, and then I thought he just passed away like last year, but it was 4 years ago already. So, but I'm still sad about that. He's one of the greatest filmmakers, I think, film history. So thank you for that answer. And then now I want to go back to 4 season. So my question was actually, it was very interesting. In the beginning, you start off as a very interesting comedy and then dynamics with friends and couple. And then as film goes, and then of course, there's some comedic fact. And then it ended with an actually very, not heavy, but still the issue that was much heavier than the beginning. So that kind of a mood change is like I don't know, probably you would hate this term dramatic, but how was your kind of a decision starting off of the very strong comedy into the very dramatic ending?
I think when we were talking about this back in the day, we were like, you know, I was always into some kind of, you don't know what happens next, and it could be like, you know, a huge disaster. So we thought of like all types of different like super dramatic things that can go down within a relationship. And you know, some were more drastic than others, and some would be a little too shocking and too jarring. So I think that was the beauty of doing this film, was to kind of document, you know, what kind of goes on in a marriage or a relationship or something like that, and with, you know, parenthood, and just get like touches, because we didn't have, if we had, you know, the time and money to do a whole feature, and, you know, we do want to like expand this into a whole like series, so we can have that more time to like let things breathe and kind of flow into things, flow into a rhythm where you're not on a roller coaster and you're just like, you know, dropping like 50 feet down in 100 miles an hour. So that's one thing I think Nia was like great at, just her pacing with her writing, and to kind of get everyone through all of those emotions in, you know, 20 something minutes. We wanted to try to cut it down. You know, I was like, oh, you know, some people told us like, oh, you're not going to have more than 10 minutes to do a film. And we're just like, whatever, we're just going to do what we can. And I think in 10 minutes, we wouldn't be able to hit all of those emotions in a way that it would just be like shock jock type things. So we wanted to smoothly get people through the trials and tribulations of relationships.
Yeah, I would even say, absolutely. From a writing perspective, for me, pacing is important, and wanting people, and from 2 aspects. So from a storytelling standpoint, I do feel like you want to take people on a journey, right? You don't want it to just meander. So it's like, okay, welcome them, and then take them on a ride, right? So I was very conscious about that. That's personally how I like to write. I like just come at it, you know, coming out the gate, just running. And to do so with 4 seasons, like Kurt was saying, was interesting because really with the process, like I just wanted to write and create, and however long it needed to be is how long it would be, you know? So often I think sometimes as creatives, we could try to be like, well, if this festival says this amount of time, or this one, this, you know, these parameters that sometimes are set. And with this, I was like, we both were on the same page of let's just write it and see where it goes. So the choice of having it being comedic and, you know, different things at the beginning and a different tone at the end was also one for a journey in the story, but also that's just how sometimes things in life are, you know. It's like, yeah, things are cool, and then all of a sudden it's not cool, you know, like something has happened, and that's just the reality of it. And no, I don't know anyone in any relationship with another person, with themselves, where it's always like, yay, party over here. No, there's always something that happens, and you have to deal with it. And so still just keeping in the realism of what I wanted the characters to experience and the audience to really see themselves. That's the truth of it. Because in a lot of things in life, things aren't always buttoned up at the end. It's not like, yay. No, sometimes it is, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen next, you know?
Right.
And wanting to keep that element in the storytelling.
Yeah, I think that's the really one of the charms of the film, because first time I watched the film, and then after that, and then I felt like, oh, that's kind of a very realistic and then well made. And then when I was thinking more about the film, I think that's really brilliant. Also, you guys know what the life is, because I thought about it myself, and then okay, sometimes with my wife, and then we are so happy, and then everything is going good. But like not even 4 seasons, like just 2 hours later, we're so annoyed to each other. What is going on? I don't totally understand you. And then just, you know, the next day, it's, you know, we love it. You know, that life circle is like a really well captured. So I think it didn't look like they intentionally accelerated to that way. It just, I think the position in the very natural way. I think that, like Nia and Kurt, you both, that's really power of the good writing. So I think I just, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it really was allowing the characters and the setups and the stories to also take me on the journey of where would they end up, and sharing that with Kurt in the process, and being like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it, you cool with it, you know, like were we each satisfied with what the actual story was, and then filming and actually bringing it to life just added all the levels to the experience.
Right. Yeah, and then I should just mention that, like that this film and then style and just a lot reminds me of the one of my good friends. She's also a female African American filmmaker, and she wrote and starred in this feature film called Olympia. Have you guys heard this film? And it was screened at the LA Film Festival last year, 2 years ago or something. She's in LA. Maybe I should connect with you guys. Mackenzie Chin. She's a wonderful actor, and she's a really talented writer, and she's really working actively. You guys probably will have a lot of common, and then maybe it's great to work together. So yeah, we can connect, and then I can totally introduce you guys to each other. So
thank you.
Yeah, let's move to Charles. It's about writing too. Like since Charles, you said you started writing 7 years ago, and then a lot of things happened over the course of this filmmaking. So how did it affect your writing? So you finished the film screenplay 7 years ago. Did you just started making film, or that there was a lot of change, or over kind of a rewriting processes? And then how was that journey of 7 years as a writer and director?
Yeah, so I mean, the writing, even though I started it 7 years ago, probably finished it maybe 3 years after. So, and there was a lot of going back and forth as times were changing, as I had more meetings with my partners. The story was evolving, and we were mixing it up and making it as relatable as possible. And so, like, even up to the point of shooting, as I'm sure a lot of producers and filmmakers as yourselves are familiar with, like, you're still making changes. 7 years ago there wasn't Snapchat, but 5 years ago when we're like shooting, Snapchat was around, and that was something we incorporated into the script. So things like that were constantly happening. If it was relatable, we threw it in. Even though we started it 7 years ago, it finished pretty much as we were going into production. So, and I'm very open-minded, and I would like to always hear what my partners and even strangers have to say. Not that I'll necessarily incorporate that into the film, but I'd like to filter through it, at least hear it. And it's surprising to see how much like positive things I've heard from complete strangers that I've incorporated with the script, and it's made the story better. So that's something I've learned along the ways, to listen to what other people have to say. And, you know, if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. But if you like it, it can really change your story up. So, you know, as a writer, that's something I did. And yeah.
Great. Thank you. So I feel like I have so many questions. I want to go deep, but since nobody watched each other's films, so I'm just asking more about the like a big question. So hopes it's still kind of making some interesting points. So I'm just thinking more and more we should have this after we watch your film together. So now I want to ask Mohsen about children actors. So again, it's always amazing to see the movie with the great children actors, especially non-trained children actors. And then every time I saw this Iranian film, especially children cinema, I feel like I don't feel like a director is really directing, but they're capturing the moment that is supposed to be to move the story forward. So what is your directing kind of as a director strategic plan to work with this children director and then still get the outcome that you want and then look as natural as possible? It's always amazing to me.
استراتژی برای که اینجوری بازی بگیرید در سینما ایران چیه؟
چطور این کار؟ خب من اگه بخوام مشخصا در مورد تجربه‌ای که خودم توی کار با کودکان داشتم بگم، هم در مورد فیلم کنترل و هم در مورد فیلم قبلیم فوتوپلی، باید اینطور بگم که من خودم شخصا تجربه کاریم از کار با بچه‌ها به این شکلی که مشخصا ازشون نمیخوام یک اکت خاصی رو انجام بدن یا یک دیالوگی رو خیلی بسته‌بندی شده و مشخص از دهانشون بیاد بیرون و خیلی صلب و محکم باهاشون برخورد نمی‌کنم، بلکه اونها رو یه مقداری باز میذارم و بهشون فضا میدم که خودشون هم در حقیقت مشارکت کنن توی مسئله.
If I want to talk about my own experience, I should say I don't try to I let children to be themselves. I don't try to control them. Then something will show up itself, and that's what fascinates me. I don't try to dictate something to them, and it's how I make a movie.
و مسئله دیگه اینه که من از بچه‌ها در حقیقت به اونها خیلی توی مثلا جلساتی که با هم تمرین می‌کردیم به این شکل نبود که خیلی در حقیقت خطوط مشخصی رو بهشون در حقیقت بهشون بگم و اونها بخوان اعمال در حقیقت توی کار پیاده بکنن. و اینکه مسئله دیگه این که خود اساسا همین که من رفتم سراغ بچه‌هایی که تجربه بازی نداشتن به این خاطر بود که بتونم یه چیزی غیر مصنوعی و خیلی طبیعی و یونیک از این بچه‌ها بگیرم، یعنی اونها رو در حقیقت در موقعیت قرار میدادم تا اون چیزی که درونشون هستش رو بتونن بریزن بیرون.
I don't say them what to do. I just put them in the situation and want them to act. Then they know what to do.
در حقیقت من اونها رو بیشتر در موقعیت قرار میدادم، بیشتر از اینکه بخوام باهاشون تمرین‌های خیلی مشخصی بکنم. این بود که اونها رو با اونها صحبت می‌کردم و توی این صحبتی که بین من و اون بچه‌ها اتفاق میافتاد بهشون شرح میدادم اون دنیایی که قراره در حقیقت تصویر بشه و از اون شکل مکانیکی بازی گرفتن از بازیگر یا مخصوصا کودک، چون واقعا بازی گرفتن از کودک خیلی چیز متفاوتی نسبت به فضای بزرگسال، سعی می‌کردم که از اون روند عادی اونا رو خارج کنم.
I talk and talk and talk with them and try to make an atmosphere for them. I push them to understand the situation and the atmosphere, and I guess it would help them to act lively and naturally. That's why I avoid dictating them what to do.
Yeah.
So that tells that you must be the extremely patient person. So otherwise, you know, I'm sure it is very challenging process to work with the children actor. And of course, you chose from the 200, you know, actors. So they must be really smart and understanding actors, actings and all that. So my then follow-up question is probably, we're reaching into the 50 minutes or something. So my follow-up question is that, are you open to those children actors to have some own moment other than like your own? I'm sure you have a screenplay, but after you explain the situation, they could go some little different, you know, direction. So then you just try to kind of embrace what they are going to go, or do you just still try to guide them to go to the right direction, even if you are not micro-directing actors, each very detailed acting? So I'm curious.
میگه که اگر اونا خواستن اون حساب خیلی بازتر عمل بکنن، بازم تو بهشون اجازه میدی؟ مثلا حدس میزنم که این پلات رو مثلا میخواد تغییر بدن یا بازی خیلی متفاوت باشن، تو در کل داری اینها رو مدیریت میکنی فقط؟ و اگر در یعنی فقط سعی میکنی هدایتشون کنی کلا، یا اگه تو جزئیات ببینی یه کار خیلی متفاوتی بکنن اون رو هم قبول میکنی و در آغوش میکشی؟
خب ببین به هر حال یک خط ربط مشخصی وجود داره در کار، یعنی از یک جایی به بعد دیگه ممکنه توی داستان فیلم دست ببرن، ممکنه در فضای فیلم اختلال ایجاد کنه یا در روند داستان. من دست بچه‌ها رو باز میذارم تا یه حدودی، ولی تا جایی که در حقیقت توی اون متنی که من نوشتم در حقیقت میتونن انگار تخطی بکنن.
In fact, I try to guide them. Sometimes they want to change even the transcription. That's when I try to talk with them and with some tricks push them to be faithful to the script.
Yeah, I'm sure that is a hard job. So I think you did a wonderful job. Those actors, the kids actors, did a great work, and then all that emotion, even like the kids actors, one thing we usually see is that they are doing good job, but they don't have like a really big fluctuation of emotion, because I understand, because they are not really trained experienced actors, but they go to the way they're supposed to go, but sometimes their range of emotion is kind of bland. But I think in his movie, and then he just really captured like a really different types of the fluctuation of emotion. So I think that was really, really wonderful. So great work.
Thank you.
And then now I think this should be the last question to Chelsea and Nia and Kurt. So I think that we could just go back to the Chelsea now, because the visual was absolutely one of the best in the films that I've seen in this film festival, and the production design was amazing. So I can tell that you're very kind of visual director. So can you tell us about your cinematography and then production design in this film? How important it is? Like locations. Like if I tell you to other filmmakers, great locations and costume, and you know, it was just really well put together. So I'd like to hear more about your philosophy about visual and production design.
Sure. So, I mean, as a director, even when I'm writing, I am thinking visually. And so one of the techniques that I use and is as I'm writing, I'm also kind of like thumbnailing out these storyboards. Something that I did with this film is once I finished writing, I got a storyboard artist. He storyboarded out roughly about 300 or 400 frames, and then I scanned those frames and edited it in Premiere. And I had my friends come over, do voiceovers, do dialogue. I got sound effects, whether it's doors opening or, music in the background, put it together so people can watch it with storyboards. So we did that, and it was like a 30-minute film, and we watched it and we saw how it flowed, how it
Wow.
cut. So before we even went into like really like pre-production, you were able to watch the movie and really get a look and feel of how this film is going to flow. So then I presented that to my cinematographer, to my production designer. So everyone that was involved had a very good understanding of what you should be feeling when you watch this film. And with that in mind, then our DP and production designers, they came together and did a very good job recreating, my vision. Um, and we originally wanted to shoot in film, but I'm
You want
like,
to shoot in film?
originally, and we were going to do a Super 16, and because my DP was a very big enthusiast of film, and then when we're like adding up the putting together the budget, I'm like, dude, we're gonna have to go digital. It broke his heart, but he still did a great job, and we were able to get the Arri Alexa Mini for the production, and he still did a great job, like still capturing what I wanted to put on film. So yeah, that was kind of our process, and hopefully, I think that storyboarding process is probably what helped us get that maybe polished look and feel that we were going for.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great story. Maybe I should tell my student like how important the pre-production process is. And then a
Yeah.
lot of times like people, especially student filmmakers, like they are full with the idea, but usually they not necessarily spending time to kind of a
Right.
film formulated, and then they just go for the shooting because they're just eager to go out and make
Exactly.
something. But
Right.
sometimes you have to wait and see how it's gonna look, and then spending time for pre-production. I think it's such an important part.
Right.
I think I should show this Q&A video to my students. I think
Yeah.
that's great.
I mean, just to add to that, it's like I read a book a long time ago, and they were saying more important than the execution is the preparation. A lot of people underestimate how important preparation is. And like you said, as a young filmmaker or a student, you're very eager to like shoot, shoot, shoot. And I've seen that even previously through my own friends. They are excited to shoot this film. They get on there and they shoot the film. And then when they're in the cutting room, they're having a lot of challenges and difficulties. No matter what, I think you always have that challenge, but you'll even more so if that preparation time, you did not take that time to prepare, then the execution and post can be much more challenging.
Thank you. Great. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. So then now I'm moving to the another question to Nia and Kurt, probably more to Nia. So you mentioned a little bit about wearing different hats in the production, writer, star, and producer even. That was even crazy, being producer on the set and writer and being a star. And of course, we do that, super filmmakers. So in a perfect world, I think, did it help you kind of act in the movie, or if I have a chance not to do it, I would focus on writing, or I would focus on acting, or what, or you enjoy this like wearing many different hats?
I enjoyed it with this project, to be quite honest. So, I mean, I came into the industry as an actor first, right? And then I evolved into writing because there were things I wanted to say or stories I wanted to see. I wasn't seeing stories about things that I want to talk about or feeling fully represented. So my evolution into writing is how that happened. Producing was naturally the next thing after it, because then I was like, all right, now we got to get it done, right? So for me, with 4 Seasons, as organic as it was, with Kurt and I coming together to collaborate on this, that was just the process. It was like, all right, he'll direct, I'll write. He wanted to direct something narrative. I wanted to write and produce and just act. I just wanted to create. And so just by nature of how it all came together, those just became the roles. I mean, Kurt is also my producing partner on it. And so we shared that responsibility as well. But while we were filming, it was like, I was also cognizant to give him the space as a director, because on set is his world. And Kurt did an amazing job with managing that, you know, and I was trying to watch him as well, you know, so, but like to learn, not, you know, because he really did an exceptional job. And so wearing all the hats in this in particular was just the nature of it. It was an independent film. We funded it. Kurt and I funded it ourselves. We did everything. The way in which I wrote and we developed the world, I wrote very lean. I wrote not many scene changes, not many location changes, to keep within our budget. So I was very mindful that the two of us were funding this, and how to create and write a story and have an environment that allowed us to not only tell a great story, but execute it in an efficient way that I don't think people would, seeing it, would know like how much we've tightened that up to make it happen. But to me, that's the magic of it. But also, I have to be also fair and say that although I was wearing those hats and having a great partner in Kurt, I didn't feel burdened or labored by it, you know, because I had a true partner in it. And he could probably speak to even his experience from a directing and producing standpoint. But for me to wear all those hats was fine. But I think your team, the crew you have around you, because everyone on our set did their job really well. So as a producer, it was just making sure we were on schedule, keeping us within budget, making sure all those things were done ahead of time, which really worked well. And then once we were on set, that was Kurt's world and just managing it. But when you have a great team, it's just fun, for me at least. And I'll let Kurt speak on from his perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something quickly. The first short film that I directed back in New York, it's like a few years ago. I had DP'd it, did the audio, helped produce it, and you know, and then you have this other dimension of directing actors. And so I learned from that film. I love that film still, but I could see everything that, you know, every little nitpicky thing where I was like, man, I wish my audio was better here. And it was kind of hard to like listen to the actors and make sure you had a good take while you're worried about the shot and focus and everything else. So it was like when me and Nia did this film, I was like, oh, this is going to be a dream to have like a DP and someone to do audio. And I was like, this is amazing. So like, I think, you know, my whole journey as a director, I came from MTV. I used to work at MTV and we did everything ourselves. We do audio, we do the editing, we do sound, we produce, we would do everything on the spot, on the fly, all of the time. So we always felt like in Chris, our DP, we worked together ever since like 2001. And we came from that style of like, you know, we don't have anything and we got to do everything. And I think just having that luxury and that space to only wear two hats as the director and the producer on set was awesome to kind of focus in on takes and tone and things like that within the film and the vision too. So and there were some shots that we changed up on the fly, and the one thing about like the whole production design and everything, Nia did a lot of the production design in the house, and that was our first apartment. So I knew every nook and cranny of that apartment. And yeah, so I thought, yeah, being able to focus on certain things, especially the acting and the visual, was just like amazing. And I think those are like great talents is for any director to have. I mean, it's great to have like a knowledge of all parts of production, but to be able to focus on the ones that you're really called to do is great.
Yeah, it's interesting when you were saying about Viacom, it made me think about, I come from a theater background where you are always, it's always the collective. And so you're always, even backstage, helping people put their stuff on, change your stuff, get your props, do this stuff. So I think coming from that world, I'm used to having to be a team player, you know? But to Kurt's point, once we got on set, the writer took a back seat because it's now in everyone else's hands. I trusted our actors. We trusted our actors. And at that point, it was when I was acting, I was just acting. And then with the producing side, so much of it was making sure a lot of that was done before we started filming so that everything could kind of be on autopilot. A lot of pre-production meetings and conversations so that we each could just be in our roles when we were on set. And my primary focus at that point was acting, and then producing happened, you know, in between or once the day was over.
Yeah, it just sounds like a perfect partnership. So what's the catch? It's nothing.
There is no catch. There is no catch. And I'm grateful for that. And yeah, and this is our second time collaborating, and definitely is not our last. We are already cooking on the expansion of 4 seasons.
Actually, that was my last question. Tell us about the extension. Yeah.
Yeah, we're currently in the process of doing it as a series, episodic series. And that just felt like the natural fit for this versus feature, although not opposed to it, but the first dynamic so that we can see Charisse and Braxton, how that couple's continued to evolve. But also we get to see more of Braxton's dynamics with his friends.
Right. They have to be there. They're funny.
They have to be there. They're great. But what really happens, you know, in their own worlds as well. So currently, right now, have completely outlined the series. And Kurt and I have a call tomorrow morning to talk about it. So.
Yeah, totally. I can really see that this one is like a TV series, like a Make It in Chicago, like a Joe Swanberg, easy. You know,
I would love to do that.
Yeah, and keeping all of that, you know, some humor, some drama, just keeping people on that ride.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I think it's really exciting.
Oh, great to hear that. I was going to say you should just go for that, you know, developing this one into the series or something. That's great. And now, like naturally, kind of a wrapping up question to Chelsea's. So where are you going from here? So this is a very strong first film debut. So I'm sure you're already thinking about the next step. So can you tell us about kind of where the cinema world is going to be evolving from here?
Yeah, I mean, so we're already also moving on with our next project. The next one, it's in the outline treatment summary state. We have a writer I'm collaborating with, and it's going to be a thriller horror feature length. And I think we're going to be shooting in approximately 2 years from now. We have
better than 7 years.
Yeah, right. I'm getting better. And then, but we have like a producer attached, and I think as of right now, we're estimating it to be like a $4 to $5 million production. And the producer prior, he's done really big films as well. So I'm feeling good. Like most filmmakers, you know, a short film that we do is to show our skills and what we can do to kind of prove to others that, hey, we can do this. So hopefully Ephemera did that for me. And, you know, because of that, now I'm able to meet more great like-minded people and collaborate with people better than what I had to offer. And hopefully we might be in the theaters in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Considering all the situations have changed since from now, you know.
Sounds
so.
great. Yeah. If you want to shoot with a 60mm film, so I've shot 60mm film 2 years ago. I have a good access to the 810 camera. So let me know.
Okay. Yeah, if you can keep the prices low like digital, then
Yeah.
you know, it would.
Yeah,
be...
this is my friend because she used to run the rental house in Chicago, and then she retired. He has his 810 XTR camera at home. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
I love
right,
60mm film. So
yeah, no, I mean, I really wanted to shoot in film, and it's so hard to replicate it. Although we've come much further than how it was before, replicated digitally. But you know, I'll work with what we have now.
right. Yeah, let's shoot with the IMAX. How about that?
yeah.
Next
I'll
to
just
Christopher Nolan, huh?
right. I'll just give Chris a buzz and try to hook up with his connections. It's that easy, right?
He's not too far. I found out where his house is, or over here somewhere.
All right, there you go.
Wow.
I'm gonna be reaching out to Kurt real soon.
Okay, so yes, the last question to Mohsen. So please tell us about your kind of a plan from here. Like, is there any other project going on, or if you have some with this film, or there's some other film you are developing, would you tell us about your next project?
من بعد از ساخت کنترل توی دوره قرنطینه یه جوری شده بود که خیلی دیدن فیلم و خوندن کتاب و موسیقی و اینها دیگه منو اقناع نمی‌کرد و انقدر به لحاظ روحی روانی به هم ریخته بودم که تصمیم گرفتم یه فیلم کوتاه توی خونه با یکی از دوستان بسازم.
During the quarantine, I was depressed, and reading books and watching movies didn't satisfy me. So I decided to make a short movie.
آره و اینکه اون فیلمو تقریبا یه 4-5 ماه پیش ساختم. اگرچه که خیلی پروژه آنچنانی و جدی نبود، ولی به هر حال چیزی بود که اون روزها خیلی پروژه‌ای بود که به هر حال توی اون روزها من درگیر کرد. اما برای پروژه بعدی فعلا در حال نوشتن یه فیلمنامه‌ای هستم که این دفعه منتها کار با کودک نیست. توی با بزرگسال قراره کار بکنم، ولی خب الان مشغول نوشتنشم و امیدوارم تا چند ماه آینده پروژه نوشتن به اتمام برسه.
I finished that movie, and right now I'm working on a transcription on a story, and but in this story children doesn't have a pivotal role, and it's about the adulthood world.
I think it's good to mix. Hello? Oh yeah, came back. So, all right, thanks for sharing your next future project. Thank you so much. I think it's a little over an hour. It's a time to wrap up. Again, number one, thanks for joining us for this Q&A, and then more importantly, thanks for making wonderful films. I'm also a filmmaker. I'm not just film scholar or just a jurist. I make film every day. So I just get so excited to see people out there and then make film and then share. So really, really great to meet you all. So I hope to see you again on Zoom or in person. So let's connect and let's, who knows, we can collaborate together. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We'll see ya.